Rajya Amargarh was a golden kingdom, whose stories of prosperity, culture and strength were spread far and wide. The land here was fertile, the rivers were always clear, and every visitor was mesmerized by the splendor of the palace. The identity of this kingdom was its king Vikramaditya, who was known for his justice, love for the people and extraordinary skill on the battlefield. King Vikramaditya was not only a valiant warrior but also an excellent ruler. No one slept hungry in his kingdom, and even the enemies at the borders of Amargarh could not stop themselves from praising his courage. His policies had made the kingdom invincible. But his personal life was as complex as that of the great King Vikramaditya. In the palace, Princess Rohini, his stepsister, had dreamed of taking the throne since childhood. Rohini was extremely intelligent, beautiful and clever, but she had a hunger for power in her heart from an early age. She always felt that her father gave more importance to King Vikramaditya and that she did not receive what was rightfully hers. This emotion fueled the fire of jealousy and revenge in her heart. Though Rohini's childhood was spent in the splendor of the palace, she always carried the pain of being the daughter of another queen. After the death of Vikramaditya's mother, Rohini's mother secured her place in the palace. The deep divisions within the palace's politics and relationships gave birth to hatred and ambition in Rohini's childhood. There was a distance between Vikramaditya and Rohini since their early years. King Vikramaditya always prioritized his duties, while Rohini saw every situation as an opportunity. Gradually, she began to tighten her grip on the palace ministers, soldiers, and servants. Rohini had mastered the art of political conspiracies inside the palace. She secretly won over several important ministers and military leaders with her cunning strategies. Her greatest strength was her attractive personality and sharp mind. The first step in her conspiracy was forming a secret alliance with the king of the neighboring kingdom, Rajya Malvan, Sangram Singh. Then came the day when Rohini initiated the biggest conspiracy of her life. She knew that King Vikramaditya was an ideal ruler for the people, and challenging him directly would not be easy. So she planned to weaken him from within the palace. Rohini confided in her friend, "The throne of Amargarh belongs to me." "But it is not so easy to defeat King Vikramaditya," her friend replied. "A fortress only falls when it is weak from within." "I will break Amargarh's throne from the inside," Rohini said with a cunning smile. This was the beginning of Amargarh's darkest chapter. Rohini started eliminating her enemies one by one. She knew that brute strength alone could not defeat Vikramaditya. To overpower him, she had to shake the very foundation of the palace's politics. A strange unease began to spread through Amargarh. There was more noise in the palace halls than silence. The streets carried an air of restlessness. Recently, King Vikramaditya had received reports of suspicious activities. His spies informed him that a grand conspiracy was brewing within the palace. However, the identity of the mastermind remained unclear. One evening, as the king sat in his chamber, his most trusted minister and spy, Aryaman, arrived with urgent news. "Your Majesty, some ministers are conspiring against you," Aryaman informed him. "It seems a powerful enemy has bought their loyalty." The king took a deep breath. "What have you found out? Who is behind this?" Aryaman hesitated. "It is difficult to say for certain. But some informants are pointing toward Princess Rohini." As soon as he heard this, King Vikramaditya's sword slipped from his hand. He found it hard to believe that his own sister could turn against him. But deep inside he was aware of Rohini's ambitions. On the other hand, Rohini had already begun playing her cards. She had solidified her secret alliance with Sangram Singh, the king of Malvan. Sangram Singh was notorious for his strength and deceit, making him the perfect ally for Rohini's sinister plans. He promised to help Rohini seize the throne of Amargarh. But his true intentions lay in the kingdom's vast wealth and prosperity. Rohini continued to strengthen her conspiracy within the palace. She swayed key figures to her side, including the palace commander, Bhandari, and several influential ministers. Their weaknesses were greed, money, power, and authority, and Rohini promised them all three. Tension inside the palace was rising. Every servant doubted every soldier's loyalty. Some remained steadfastly loyal to King Vikramaditya, but others had begun secretly aligning themselves with Rohini. One day Queen Meghna approached Vikramaditya. "My king," she said, "I have heard troubling whispers. We must act before it is too late." Vikramaditya's voice was deep and resolute. You are right, my queen. This is not the time for silence. We must root out the enemies lurking within our palace. Queen Meghna was not only beautiful but also an expert strategist. She proposed a plan. We will spread a false rumor throughout the palace, that you are weakening the army and considering a compromise with the neighboring kingdom. The true conspirators will react to this news. Vikramaditya agreed. Loyal ministers were instructed to discreetly spread the false information. Soon, the palace was abuzz with murmurs and speculation. And then, as expected, a movement was noticed. One of Rohini's conspiring ministers rushed to her with excitement. Princess, King Vikramaditya is weakening his army. Now is the perfect time to strike. Rohini smiled coldly. This is even better than I had planned. I will send word to King Sangram Singh of Malvan. The time has come to capture Amargarh. Vikramaditya now had no doubts. His own sister was orchestrating his downfall. He quietly ordered his army to prepare for battle. But a greater conflict waged inside him. Could he raise his sword against his own blood? Sensing his hesitation, Queen Meghna spoke firmly. This war is not just for the throne, my king. It is a war between justice and treachery. If you hesitate now, the people of Amargarh will suffer the consequences. After much thought, Vikramaditya made a decision. He would confront his sister first. He summoned Rohini to meet him. When she arrived, he spoke with a heavy heart. Rohini, if you want the throne, tell me. I will give it to you. But tell me, will you be able to protect the people of Amargarh? Rohini's voice rang out with defiance. Brother, that is a question you should have asked when I was denied my rightful place in my father's love. Now, I will stop at nothing to take what is mine. Queen Meghna, ever observant, remarked, It seems the princess desires power above all else. But, my king, beware, what if those she trusts the most turn against her in the end? Vikramaditya allowed himself a slight smile but quickly grew serious. This is only the beginning. The real battle is yet to come. A strange tension gripped the silent nights of Amargarh. Unseen movements filled the shadows. Rohini, through her most trusted messengers, sent an urgent message to King Sangram Singh. The time has come. Amargarh's throne will be mine. Send your soldiers immediately. We attack under the cover of darkness. Sangram Singh, hungry for power and wealth, was eager to strike. He saw an opportunity not only to help Rohini but to claim Amargarh's vast riches and mighty army for himself. Meanwhile, Vikramaditya received news from his spies. Malvan's army was on the move. Without wasting a moment, he summoned his two most trusted commanders, Aryabhata and Ishan. We are about to be attacked, Vikramaditya announced. We must ready our forces. Aryabhata, known for his wisdom and patience, nodded solemnly. Your Majesty, no matter how powerful the enemy, if we fight for our land and our people, we will never be defeated. Ishan, always the one to lighten the mood, smirked. But, Your Majesty, we have one problem. Our soldiers love their food more than their weapons. If we don't make arrangements, they might just run to the kitchens in the middle of battle. A brief chuckle passed through the war chamber, but the weight of the looming battle remained. The fate of Amargarh was about to be decided. The king and his commanders smiled at Ishan's jest, but the gravity of the situation was not lost on anyone. Before preparing for battle, King Vikramaditya made one last attempt to reach his sister. Both siblings stood face to face in the heart of the palace. Rohini, why all this? Vikramaditya's voice was deep and steady. Because I want what is rightfully mine, Rohini declared. This throne belongs to me. I have been overlooked since childhood. This kingdom has denied me my due. Now, I will take it for myself. Vikramaditya's expression remained calm yet firm. The throne is not a symbol of power to me. It is a duty, a means to serve the people. If you desire it only for power, then I will never give it to you. Rohini let out a short laugh. Brother, your idealism will not save you on the battlefield. Think carefully. If you surrender the throne without bloodshed, I will spare Amargarh from war. Vikramaditya's response was simple. He drew his sword. Before I abandon this throne, I will give my life. But I will never surrender it. If war is what you seek, war is what you shall have. Preparations for battle began in the fortress of Amargarh. Weapons were distributed, war cries echoed through the halls, and the tension was thick in the air. Aryabhata addressed the army with a commanding voice. Remember, this is not just a war. It is a fight for our land, our culture, and the safety of our people. There is no retreat. Ishan, ever the jester, grinned. And remember, if the enemy tries to steal your food, strike him down first. The soldiers burst into laughter, their spirits lifted. That night, under the cover of darkness, the Malvan army reached the borders of Amargarh. Rohini had secretly planned to unlock key palace gates, allowing Malvan's forces to enter undetected. But Queen Meghna had foreseen this treachery. She stationed her most loyal guards at these entry points. She turned to Vikramaditya. "My king, tonight will decide our fate. We must do everything in our power to stop Rohini and Malvan's army. But remember, Rohini is your sister. She may be lost in her greed, but she is still family." Vikramaditya's expression hardened. "I know. But as a king, my duty is greater than my emotions. If I must take drastic measures to protect Amargarh, I will not hesitate." Before the battle, an eerie silence settled over Amargarh. Soldiers sharpened their swords. Horses were prepared for war. Inside the palace, quiet prayers were whispered. Ishan, grinning, addressed the troops one last time. "Remember, if we win there will be a grand feast. If we lose, well, the Malvans might make a feast of us." The soldiers chuckled, fastening their armor and steeling their nerves. As the first rays of sunlight broke through the horizon, a thick fog cloaked the battlefield. Both armies stood ready. On one side, the proud warriors of Amargarh, led by their unwavering king. On the other, the vast and ruthless Malvan army, bolstered by Rohini and King Sangram Singh. King Vikramaditya rode to the front, addressing his soldiers with fiery determination. "This war is not just for our kingdom, it is for our soul, our honor, and our ideals. Remember, every strike of your sword is for Amargarh. And every step backward is a betrayal of your brothers in arms." A mighty war cry erupted from the Amargarh army, their resolve strengthened. The sound of horns filled the air. Swords clashed. The battlefield roared to life. The Malvan army launched an aggressive assault, determined to break through Amargarh's defenses. But Aryabhata and Ishan, with their strategy and skill, pushed them back. Even in the heat of battle, Ishan's humor did not waver. The soldiers of King Sangram Singh handle their swords like dancers. "Perhaps they should join a competition instead," he quipped, effortlessly cutting down an enemy. Laughter rippled through Amargarh's ranks, infuriating the Malvan warriors further. Meanwhile, Queen Meghna had set her own trap. Using her spies, she deceived Malvan's commander into believing Amargarh's forces were weakening. The war was far from over, but the tides were beginning to shift. Aryabhata smirked as he watched the Malvan commander take the bait. "The best strategy would be to attack at night," the commander concluded. Queen Meghna's spies had done their work well. The commander gave the order for his army to hide and prepare for a surprise attack. But when night fell, the army of Amargarh was already waiting. Swords gleamed under the moonlight. Arrows were drawn. The Malvan forces, expecting an easy victory, found themselves in chaos. Queen Meghna's plan had turned the tide. Aryabhata, standing beside Vikramaditya, grinned. "Your strategy was a boon for us, my queen." Meghna smiled knowingly. Wars are won not only by strength but also by the mind. The battlefield raged with war cries and the clash of steel. But the real drama was unfolding inside the palace. Rohini, along with her most trusted warriors, had infiltrated the palace under the cover of darkness. Her plan was clear. While Vikramaditya was occupied with the war, she would seize the throne. She made her way swiftly through hidden corridors, her heart pounding. When she reached the grand throne room, she exhaled in triumph. But Vikramaditya was already there. "You thought I wouldn't anticipate your move?" he asked, his voice calm yet firm. Rohini's response was a sword strike. "Your justice and principles have led me to this day," she spat. "If you had given me the respect I deserved, none of this would have happened." Their swords clashed. Sparks flew. But this was more than just a fight for the throne. It was a battle of ideals, of love and resentment, of duty and betrayal. "You should have cared more for your family than your kingdom," Rohini accused as she struck again. "After becoming king, you forgot your own blood." Vikramaditya parried, his grip unwavering. "A true family stands together," he countered. "Not one that stabs in the back. You saw only your own desires and never the burden of sacrifice that comes with ruling a kingdom." Their blades danced through the air, a blur of steel and fury. Rohini's strikes were filled with anger and desperation, but Vikramaditya fought with patience and strength. Then, in a critical moment, Rohini's foot slipped. She fell hard onto the marble floor. Vikramaditya stood over her, his sword poised. But he did not strike. "You are my sister," he said softly. "No matter how much you have betrayed me, I cannot kill you." Tears welled in Rohini's eyes. Her sword slipped from her grasp. "Your mercy, Your loyalty, they are the reason for my defeat, she whispered. It took me too long to understand. The fight within the palace was over. But on the battlefield the war still raged. At dawn the army of Amargarh dealt the final blow. King Sangram Singh fell to his knees, defeated. His soldiers dropped their weapons. Rohini too accepted her fate. Vikramaditya addressed his people. This war is not my victory, he declared. This is the triumph of truth and justice in Amargarh. But justice demanded consequence. Rohini stood before the royal court, awaiting her sentence. You have defeated me, brother, she said. But my curse will not let you rule in peace. Every king who sits on this throne will one day face betrayal. A heavy silence fell upon the court. Vikramaditya did not respond. Instead, he sentenced Rohini to lifelong imprisonment. Amargarh had won. But its history was forever stained. From that day on, the throne became more than a symbol of power, it became a warning to future kings. A curse that would haunt generations to come.